Taking notes is the most overrated study technique to ever exist. It's more overrated than Pomodoro. It's more overrated than group studying. But even specifically, Cornell notes are overrated too. But we're coming back to that. So before I start a war in the comment section, I want you to understand my logic behind why it's so overrated. There are only 3 steps in the process of studying. Everyone likes to overcomplicate it, but I am telling you that if you are getting straight A's, you have mastered these 3 steps without even knowing it. Notes are only helpful when they're helping you with one of these 3 steps. These steps may seem obvious, but everyone talks about them in an unclear way and in an unclear order in StudyTube. So step 1 is to fundamentally understand the content. Do not skip this step, okay? It will come back to bite you in the buttocks. It's no use memorizing something that you can't even put into your own words, okay? You can memorize the word inertia and know that it's something to do with forces for your physics test, but if you don't actually fundamentally understand how inertia works, how are you supposed to answer a question that involves it? You are screwed. You can use note-taking in this first stage. This is actually one of the few times where it's actually helpful. In physics, for example, my teacher would explain all of these really big, difficult concepts, and I would really struggle with trying to understand only the words and only hearing them. So I'd often draw out concepts that represent these words, crack my brain trying to understand and visualize them, and then finally I'd get it. But most people aren't using note-taking in this stage of the process. They're using it in stage 2, where it's super overrated and super ineffective. How many times have you heard, I'm taking notes to help me remember this. I'm taking notes because I'm probably gonna forget that. Anyone wanna spot the mistake in the sentence and hazard a guess in the comments? Taking notes and rereading notes to quote unquote remember things, especially during my GCSEs, was the biggest time waster ever. Why? There are 2 reasons, but the first, most obvious one, is because all the content was already online. Taking notes is not just awesome, it's necessary when you don't have access to the content outside of your classroom. Taking notes doesn't just suck, it's also a huge time waster when you already understand the content and or all of your resources for revision are already online. I will say it again, memorization and understanding are fundamentally different concepts. You can understand something without actually having memorized it. You can memorize something without actually having understood it. Boozy. Remember that word, boozy. By the end of this video, you could still remember and have memorized the fact that I mentioned the word boozy in this video. Doesn't mean you know what I meant. Maybe I'll tell you at the end. As I said, there is a 3rd step, but notes rarely ever help in this part. If you're curious, I can link a video here where I go through it. But why does taking notes to help you memorize things suck? We've heard a first reason, content online, but what's the second reason? Because you cannot test yourself based on most note-based systems alone. We all know that active recall is the best way to quickly memorize new information. Test yourself. You should be grunting, squeezing, scraping, trying to remember, oh, what's that word in French again? Was it feminine or was it masculine? Did it end with a shun or an age? The only way that you are going to get this kind of active pressure is not just by taking notes that show the content, but also using note-taking systems that are designed to work your memory. And the top most popular ones are blurting. You read the textbook, you chuck it away, then you write down everything that you remember as quickly as you can, then Cornell notes. Okay, we're going to speak about Cornell now. Lord help me. Now, I told you we were coming back to Cornell because the same way I have personal beef with Pomodoro, link here if you want me to outline all of that personal beef, I have personal beef with Cornell too. Is Cornell a step up from regular notes? Yes. 'Tis indeed. Is Cornell that high of a step compared to other memorization techniques? No, 'tis not. Now let me explain, okay? You've got your Q/question section. Let's just say you're doing this at maximum efficiency and you've got your notes covered up and you're banging out these questions and answering them like pow, pow, pow. That's great. That's awesome. That's active Recall. But forgive me for asking this, but how are you going to track which ones you've gotten right and wrong again? Maybe you highlight them. How are you going to track the amount of times you've gotten them wrong? Maybe you tally them. How often are you supposed to go back and answer them and test yourself, and in what order? Maybe you map out a complicated timetable based on the human forgetting curve for all of these different Cornell notes that you've taken in this subject and then other subjects, and you're using all of this extra time and all of this extra energy that you could have spent studying, when there are applications out there for free that can do all of these things for you. Come on guys, say it with me. If you've been with me for a while, you already know what I'm about to say. Okay, 3, 2, what? Digital flashcards. It's digital flashcards again. Because Anki or Quizlet or whatever platform you're using is tracking what cards you got right, what cards you got wrong, at what time, to what degree you got them wrong, and has already been programmed to show you them in accordance with the human forgetting curve. The Cornell notes in your bag aren't using a complex algorithm based on the human forgetting curve to prioritize which questions you should be asked next. Are they now? Of course, it's a free world. Feel free to do what you want. You like Cornell notes? Use them. But this video is for the students that want to save as much time and as much energy as possible. Maybe you're cramming for an exam. Maybe you just like efficiency. Maybe you're a student dying in your STEM courses and you're not understanding jack. And you need an app like Brilliant. Tell me that wasn't the best transition I've ever done. Tell me that wasn't the best. Brilliant is the perfect app for intellectuals like you. It helps you get smarter every day with its thousands of lessons on maths, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. I love the way Brilliant teaches because everything is just so visual. It's almost like Brilliant is out there making these notes for you to help you understand these problems. If anything, it's almost better than notes because you can play around and interact with the system, which is a method that has proven itself to be 6 times more effective than watching boring lecture videos. For example, if you're learning how to program, you can get experience with real-world applications and you can learn how to think like a programmer. You get familiar with popular languages like Python, and you can develop your intuition for computer logic as you design and debug programs in the real world. And of course, because I'm amazing, I hooked you guys up with a sweet little deal. If you scan the barcode or click my link in the description, you can receive a whole 30 days of Brilliant for free, as well as 20% off if you choose to continue with the annual subscription. Again, if you scan the barcode or head to brilliant.org/girlinworld, you can receive 30 days of Brilliant for free, plus 20% off if you choose to continue with the annual subscription. What are you waiting for? Okay, so I'm gonna offend someone with this next point. I don't know who, but I've said this before in a video now, so I'm gonna properly explain it. Yeah, sure. Notes are overrated, but there's a specific type of note that is so overrated in the study community. StudyTube, StudyTalk, StudyGram. You could follow me on Instagram. It might even be the reason why you were attracted to this community in the first place. And that is, drumroll please, pretty notes. Look, if you don't care about efficiency or waste of time or energy and you feel like you can just memorize it with pretty notes and remember everything a year later just by writing it down, then go ahead. You'll be fine. But if you're like me, we have precious time and energy that we simply cannot waste. And I also have an average memory. If I write something down once today, I'm really not going to remember it a year from now. And if anything, my notes usually look really ugly, and I'm still proud of them. I'm about to show you some pictures of my A-level English language notes. The following scenes may be upsetting or cause distress to people affected by messy notes. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
God have mercy upon us.
Do you want to guess what grade I got in my English language mocks? Not a U, not an F, nowhere near that actually. I got an A star in my most recent A-level English language mocks. And I did not get there with pretty notes. In fact, I got there with really ugly, functional notes. Assuming you need to take notes because you don't have access to your course's content online, your notes only need to be legible or make sense to you. Pretty notes are pretty cool, but getting an A star studying efficiently is cooler. No one else has to see them but you, but problems do arise if you cannot get your writing neat in an exam. Having your writing as neat and as clear in an exam as possible is important so you can be awarded all of your marks. But until then, everything you're doing working up to that point does not need to be neat. When I'm taking notes at maximum efficiency, a teacher will often play a video or something, and there's so much going on in the video all at once that we don't even have time to pause or go back or check or relax. So I just vomit everything down like an absolute madwoman. I start making stupid acronyms, weird abbreviations, and I do it in the most repulsive handwriting you have ever seen. As soon as I leave the class and can study, while I still remember my weird acronyms, I go back and I make digital flashcards for them. This is where we can start talking about clarity. I don't use any abbreviations in these except for the official ones, and I go in detail explaining clearly everything I mean in them. Now, this is what I'm going to be memorizing off of. A clear, concise study resource with straight to the point information. An A star with no aesthetic needed. But you know what else is overrated? A lot of study techniques that you might still be using, linked here where I call you out. And for closure, Mbuzi means goat in Swahili. I'm half Tanzanian. See you next time.